Hello and welcome back. My name is Levi. It has been a while. Last time I played is 3.18, where I'd done a soul run build, and that one was a lot of fun, and amazingly enough, it only became better in 3.19. At the end of that league, I told you that I would come back and make a video involving rolling magma, but not as a meme build, not as a joke, not as something I try for 10 minutes, but as something I'm going to play all season. We're going to take this build to endgame, and we're going to defeat every major boss, every uber boss, and simulacrum 30. I don't know what kind of investment it will take to get there, though. Probably a lot, if I had to guess. I'm doing a self-cast only, so it's not going to be through cast on crit or cast while channeling or anything of that sort. And so I like to take off meta skills and see how far we can take them into the game, and I'll play one character, one skill for the whole season. Some of the critique I received last time in regard to my soul run build was by the time I posted the video, I was already at the end game, and I already had probably a mirror or a mirror and a half worth of equipment to put on that character. And so some of the feedback was, well, how soon were you able to do some of these bosses and uber bosses? What kind of investment did it initially take? Because right now, at the time, it's showing 350 to 400 exalts. And so this one, I wanted to show basically a few days after league start. I'm level 86. And I have purchased 5 pieces of equipment so far, or 5 pieces of gear. I'll start off with the first one. I purchased the wand. I didn't plug it into Path of Building prior to buying it. It was only a 7% increase, which isn't bad. I spent 15 chaos. But even without this, the 7% was really not that substantial. I did buy myself a 6-link on day 2. I spent 60 chaos. Quite frankly, this piece probably should have only been worth 10 to 15 tops, but I overpaid because I wanted to get it sooner rather than later. But we'll say 60 because that's how much I spent on it. I did purchase Rise of the Phoenix Mosaic Kite Shield. I'll explain that here in a little bit. That was 2 Chaos Orbs, so I got a good deal on that. I did buy a level 2120 Rolling Magma. I spent 10 Chaos because I just wanted to max it out and get the quality. And then the masterpiece that I've purchased to make a lot of my survivability come into play is the Glor's Vanity Timeless Jewel. I'll explain that here very quickly. I did that to be able to obtain Corrupted Soul. A big part of the Ascendancy is being able to regenerate Energy Shield and Life simultaneously. And so I want my Life and Energy Shield to go down at the same time as well. So that way I can capitalize on my regen. My standing regen right now is 1,100 each for a grand total of 2,244.6. And so that's quite a bit of regen, considering I only have a grand total of 4,800 HP between life and energy shield. At some point I will go to a low life build, but that's going to take some investment. I don't want to go to low life because I don't want to sacrifice the survivability at this time. Every other piece of gear and everything else that I found, I've literally found off drop, most of it through the campaign. I've had a hard time finding replacement items for some of my gear. As you can see, my chaos resistance is negative. By endgame, that will be corrected. It should be around 70, maybe capped at 75%. So I will fix that deficiency moving forward. A big part of the build for the life regen is being able to regenerate 1 life per second for each uncapped fire resistance, which is why I'm so overcapped in the fire resistance. I'm very short on dexterity, which has also been a problem. I did not want to buy any gear because, once again, I just wanted to demonstrate what can be done with, for the most part, with gear that you can find. I was rolling with a 4-link immediately after I beat the campaign. Never found a 5, but even with a 4-link, Katava is probably one of the easiest experiences for Katava I've ever had. Survivability was fantastic. Damage was perfectly fine. It was on the higher side for what I normally finish with, and that's largely due to the burst damage. I did die 3 times during the campaign, not a single time to an actual boss. I have a bad habit of flashing into blue mobs and then, getting crushed by them. And so, if you don't do that, could have made it through the campaign deathless. But since the campaign, most of my deaths typically come from, I just like to dash around as quick as I can, and I have a habit of dashing directly into a large mob. And you will certainly not win any speed awards with Rolling Magma as a self-cast because of the charge-up time it takes to self-cast Rolling Magma. I'll demonstrate here in the base. To do this, it doesn't seem like a long time, but when you're being perpetually stunned by 10 or 15 guys surrounding you, it can be really hard to sometimes get that shot off. And so if you can cast it from even a small distance, you'll be able to make it through okay. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about the build. My skill tree will ultimately change. I will post the path of building down in the description. But as far as the gear that I have, this mask I found early on. I use it because of the resist all. It was hard to replace it. Still haven't been able to replace it, and I'm 86, but I'll buy something here before long. The gloves, just something I found, as you can tell, early stages, based on the fact it only has 90 armor, 90 evasion. Picked it up for the resistances and a life. I actually found a somewhat acceptable belt, a good life roll, good energy shield roll with a lot of strength and some resistances and stun block recovery. This I found in Act 3. It's been hard to replace because I need the 20 dexterity. Finding dexterity items that are still decent in the other categories has been a challenge, but I will amend that here momentarily. The amulet, nothing spectacular there, something I found, I think, while mapping. And of course I use crafting bench to improve life, mana, and life cap hit points as well. As far as the potions, I use a granite flask and a quartz. I need the phasing because sometimes you do get stuck in a large mob of monsters, and you definitely don't want to be stuck there for long because you can get perma-stunned and potentially killed that way. As far as the potions, just regular health potions, and you do need to use a mana potion, at least the way I have it set up now. My mana regeneration is abysmal at 22.2, and obviously a cast is 87. So it takes 4 seconds, but most things, as you will come to see here momentarily, will die pretty quickly. So I do have a T10 map that I will demonstrate for you guys, and we'll kind of roll through this. I'll do some talking during the mapping, but ideally, just going to try and power through this without getting killed. It's honestly not too difficult. The only time I get killed is if I genuinely make a mistake. It was very easy going through the trials, the ascendancies. For the ascendancy, I did not use Righteous Fire because I want to be able to have that regen as high as possible. I don't want to take away from that. The damage really hasn't been a problem. And so, at least not of yet. And I don't foresee it being a problem. Ideally, I think I have it mapped out. I'm not going to post that build yet because I don't know what the final form will look like. The burst damage should be about 9 million against Guardian and Pinnacle bosses. I believe I could probably get that a little bit higher. The gear I had created or selected for that was nothing off the charts. It wouldn't be too terribly much to get there, but there are a few pieces that just don't exist yet because no one's had time to craft them. And so I will leave that kind of a secret for the time being, and as time progresses, I'll make 2 more videos. I'll make one video defeating regular bosses, regular pinnacle bosses, and then another video once I get to the point of being able to defeat uber bosses, and we'll talk about the amount of currency and investment it took to get there. Once again, certainly with a self-casting rolling magma, you won't win any speed builds or speed races with that for sure. The self-cast is pretty slow, but it does get through the maps at a pretty acceptable pace. I'm having fun, I'm enjoying it, and I guess for each their own, that's what the important part is, right? So let's go ahead and do this map. I've done the Founder before, and I'll open up these wonderful portals here and step into the good times. I'll load that in game. So I'll run Righteous Fire initially, and every trash mob will basically die in a single hit, and so that's what we like to see. Most rares will die in a single cast, and as you can see here, he survived one, barely, and that was partially my fault. But he survived it also because I didn't have the curse on him either. If I had actually hit him with Assassin's Mark, that's what I predominantly use, because once again, a big part of the magic here is going to be to get critical strike chance to 100% chance. And once that gets up to 100% chance, monsters will no longer have resistances to any damage that you do. So he is one from the Harbinger, and these guys are usually, for some reason, just insanely strong. So we're going to go in here and kill those guys. That was the easiest thing to do. It's a sad day that Exalted Shards are worth basically nothing. And yeah, so for those used to be worth, 10, 20 chaos, depending on what point of the league it was. And now they're being reduced to nothing almost. Some of the problems you have doing the self-cast is enemies that like to charge or move very quickly can sometimes be hard to hit or to line up, because obviously the objective is to try to get multiple strikes on them. And sometimes it's just not possible to be able to do that, not with ease anyways. So I'm just going to rush my way to the boss here. I will finish the map. I am trying to finish every map thoroughly, but I won't put you guys through that. I think you'll get the idea of kind of where it's at as it sits. And so I could probably do a majority of this damage even without having Righteous Fire. I know I can. And Righteous Fire does give me that little extra oomph when killing rares and killing map bosses. I think this boss is sometimes problematic because he does do chaos damage if I remember correctly. Let's curse him. There we go. And the chaos damage, obviously, with having -7 resistances, he has a pretty good burst that he hits you with. And so I think I've been killed by this guy before. But we'll go through and I'll show you what it's like to fight a map boss at a tier 10 map. Go and set up a portal just in advance in case I get killed. Yeah, this guy can kill me. He is extra annoying. And so, but if he doesn't kill me in one shot, I'll kill him pretty quickly. So he and his friends are dead. And so, nice and easy. Overall wasn't that bad. He wouldn't have done even a fraction of the damage he did if my chaos resistance, wasn't -7. As you can see, he did a pretty good hit there. Probably took away 1,500 plus life. And that's where the regen really comes into play. Even with Righteous Fire, I think it's around 400 to 500 a second for the regen, especially since I have 85 fire resist. But I'm going to go back to base. I'll come back and clear out this map later, but I won't put you guys through that. If you have any questions, please leave a comment down below. And I will be making 2 more videos coming up, but I'm going to wait a little bit until I actually get to the final in-game content. Watching people go through maps, you're like, okay, big deal. It doesn't take a whole lot of damage to get through maps. And so what I really want to showcase is, can we take Rolling Magma to pinnacle bosses and how easy is it? And then also Uber bosses. And I'll put that to the test for sure. Anyways, I appreciate you guys being here if you've stuck around this long. If you hated the video, feel free to hit the thumbs down button. If you liked it, you're welcome to do whatever you want. Doesn't hurt my feelings one way or the other. Either way, I hope to see you guys on the next one and that you have a great day. And thank you.